Thanks for letting me know. You ready to go? Ready to go? Okay. Good evening, everybody. This is Katie Catchman. It is 7:15 p.m. on December 28th, 2022, and I call the Committee of the Whole to order. We'll begin with a roll call.
Ellis?
Here.
Francie?
Here.
Gaken?
Here.
Catchman?
Here.
Lawrence?
Here.
Mackey? Morrison?
Here.
Bertini?
Here.
Ross?
Here.
Shaw?
Here.
Sedor?
Here.
Taylor?
Here.
Shave?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And tonight we have a guest speaker from the Port of Grace Harbor. Caleb Dunlap is here. So give a presentation.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us tonight. I know we haven't been here for several years now. I see a lot of new faces on the council. So I'm Kayla Dunlap. I'm the Director of Government and Public Affairs at the Port of Grace Harbor. And sitting right here with me is Gary Nelson. He's the Executive Director. And today we're here to talk specifically about our Terminal 4 expansion and redevelopment project. In the spring, we'll be contacting you guys again to hopefully come back and do a port overview, which again, we haven't done for several years. So there may be some things you might have questions on as I go through this, so please feel free to ask, but it will be specific to our expansion project. Let you get through that. I'm ready whenever. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so what you're looking at here is our Terminal 2. So AGP has been a tenant of the port since 2002. They started operations at the end of 2003, exporting soybean meal. This is the facility you would look out and see today, which includes the storage, the silos you see pictured there, the additional dump house. Those were both added in 2012. So AGP is a co-op of co-ops, essentially. They're based in Omaha, Nebraska. They have, I don't know, Gary, about 200,000 farmer members or so.
About 240.
So they're very large.
Elevators.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're owned by farmers, essentially. So you can imagine the amount of support that their expansion project out here has in the Midwest, which was a huge part of us getting a very large federal grant, which I'll cover here momentarily. But this is their existing operation that they've been doing for almost 20 years now. And I apologize, my pointer won't work on that screen, but I'm gonna use Vanna here.
This is the first phase was this dump house, conveyor system, and the ship loader. And the second phase in 2012 was this loader, all the silos, and then the connections.
So what they're out there doing right now today is a $57 million improvement project, which included improvements to the aspiration system, which you essentially can't see, as well as the addition of the 4 silos right there. So if you drove down to Port Industrial Road right now, you would see some large cranes out there. They have begun piling to construct the additional 4 silos. So likely by February, you will start seeing those.
And those are all in Aberdeen.
So I'm going to tell you why that's happening and why an additional expansion project will be happening. Go ahead. So anybody that's seen the news in the last few years knows that there is a large demand for renewable fuel in the United States and around the globe, really. We are fortunate here that the Midwest is a huge producer of soybeans. So AGP has 10 soybean processing facilities throughout the Midwest. They're in the process of adding an 11th in David City, Nebraska, which is not far out of Omaha. Soybean meal is a co-product of processing. So if you crush a bean, you're going to get about 1/3 of it is oil, 2/3 of it is the meal or protein. The meal has to have an outlet. We can't consume it all here in the US or in Canada or Mexico. So it is exported. We are actually the #1 exporter of soybean meal on the entire West Coast. We do right now about 3 million metric tons of product a year. With this expansion, we will be doubling that. We're looking at about 6 million metric tons a year, so pretty significant. So that product will be bound for Southeast Asia. Right now, the Philippines is the #1 country we export to. Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, all emerging countries, right? They want protein in their diet, so this meal goes to feed chicken, pigs, aquaculture, and developing countries all around the Pacific Rim. Right now, AGP does not do any trade with China, whole beans or meal. I don't think Gary anticipates that they will be either. So that will bring us to their expansion at Terminal 4. So this is the entire project that you see here. I'm going to start with the red piece you see down at the bottom. That's AGP's piece. That's their private investment piece, about $123 million. They will be adding a dump house that will actually be double the capacity of their existing facility. So it'll dump 4 cars at a time, 2 different rail tracks going through the dump house. The product will come directly out onto the ship loader with the vessel at the dock there at T4B. So only half of our Terminal 4 dock will be used. Terminal 4A remains available. That, if you want to go forward 1 slide, perfect. So this is an image of the ship loader that will be at this dock. It's very different than the one at Terminal 2. It will be much more efficient as well. The other thing to note, if you want to go back, this new facility will not have storage. It will be direct from rail car to vessel, 3 spouts, again, more efficient in loading. So let's talk about, go ahead, Gary.
I was just gonna say,
Yep.
and when she goes back to those cranes you saw are in Longview, UGT, that's in Longview, that's Rainier, Oregon, across the way. But I was gonna say, they've got the cranes in a loading position, but when they're not loading, they rotate out of the way so that we could put another vessel there, or do something else there. There's not a lot of room, but we could technically, they swing out of the way. That's what you see in that picture, is they're all swung to parallel the terminal.
Great point. So obviously this is a pretty major project that's going to bring in more rail traffic, and I'll touch on that here in a moment, which we will be accommodating by adding 50,000 feet of new rail onto port property. So all of the green you see in this image will be new rail. It will also add a 3rd loop track, which you can't really see the whole loop because it goes off the photo there, but it comes through that new facility. Yep, you kind of got that there, good. And then the yellow piece you see, that is the old pontoon construction site that we acquired from WashDOT back at the end of 2018. So we will be filling the basin and turning that space into usable cargo laydown area. So again, we have half of Terminal 4 available, and we want to make sure we have the space to accommodate future growth for that. The other piece, you see the purple, all of Terminal 4 is highlighted there. We will be making some stormwater improvements and to the whole dock. It's an old dock built in the 60s, as well as the fender system there to accommodate growth. The other piece, not really shown on here, but important piece too, is the site access will be changed. So East Terminal Way, or Jack Thompson Way, as it's also called, that will no longer be the access. It's going to be in Heron Street, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Yep, over there.
It hasn't exactly been, but it will have a gate here. There will be a gatehouse here with the guard and everything, but that's, we're still working obviously with the design and also with the city, obviously, to make sure that everybody has access.
So that in essence is AGP's project and our project that will be needed to accommodate their growth. Go ahead. Go ahead again. There we go. So obviously, as I mentioned, there will be some rail impacts as well as vessel impacts. So just as a point of reference, 2014 was a recent historic peak year for the port. We were handling a lot of autos. AGP was continuing to grow in 2014, and we saw about 33,000 rail cars come to the port that year. In 2020, which was before we had the ship loader go down, AGP had a record year here at the port, and there was about 30,000 rail cars that came through. When this project comes online, full capacity, I don't know that it'll come to full capacity by 2025, but we're expecting around 60,000 rail cars at that time. So essentially, is it cutting out on you? Sorry, let me know if it is. I'll try to speak into it. So we're essentially doubling rail traffic is what that looks like. I probably don't need to tell you guys why an important reason to know that is it will obviously impact the East Aberdeen area, which is why the US 12 separation project is important. Vessel call wise, 2014, another peak year in recent history. That's still nowhere near the levels of vessel traffic we used to see on the channel in the 70s and 80s. In 2021, we saw about 56 vessels, and that was essentially all AGP traffic. Maybe a couple of liquid bulk in there. I don't even know if we had a log ship that year, but we were not handling autos in 2021. So 2025, when their new facility comes online, will be about double that number. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think it'll start there, but
It'll be a ramp, yeah. So let's talk about the positive economic impacts this will bring. We're talking about 80 long-term family wage jobs. So these are going to be your longshoremen, your rail, your tugs, employees down at the port and AGP's facility. Those are the long-term jobs, not the construction jobs. We're working on getting numbers for what that might look like. As I mentioned, AGP will be investing roughly $123 million in that Terminal 4 project. That is on top of the $57 million they're putting into Terminal 2 right now today. As I mentioned, we will be doubling our cargo exports, going from about 3 million metric tons to 6 million metric tons. And as Gary likes to point out, that is important, especially to the federal government who maintains our federal navigation channel and our aids to navigation, such as the jetties and the revetments. And then this is not going to go away, and this is a win-win-win for everybody. AGP is playing an important role in the demand for domestic renewable fuel, and it plays a role in food security around the globe. That soybean meal will go into the diets of millions of people around the world. So how are we going to pay for this? So our project is, that number is probably around 48 million right now, to be honest. As I mentioned,
that's news to me.
it's not gonna go down, I assure you that. We did receive a large federal grant. That was really, really exciting news. That might have been the easy part though. The real work has begun in getting that money obligated. So that will account for roughly half of this project. We will be seeking a capital budget request from the state of Washington. We will be utilizing a somewhat new tool called tax increment financing. This was passed by the legislature in 2021. It's a financing tool for public infrastructure available to cities, counties, and ports. As the RCW stands right now, there needs to be a clarification fix to the definition of real property for this to work with our project. We will be supporting that this legislative session. We will be going to the county for .09 funds, likely over several funding cycles. And then of course the port will be contributing to this as well. So this is just construction costs you see here. These don't include the planning and permitting costs that are going on right now. Gary, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, you might mention the soybean or the soy meal transportation.
Yes, thank you. I don't believe I have that up there. So again, this is just construction, but the Soy Transportation Coalition, which is essentially all those hundreds of thousands of farmers in the Midwest that want to make sure their product can get to not necessarily export, just get to markets domestically and abroad. They contributed $1.3 million to the port to make sure we could cover those costs that aren't covered by this grant, which is pretty significant. We did not ask them for it. They simply said, we want to give this to you to make sure this project keeps moving. So again, a huge commitment on their part. They definitely want to see this project.
Yeah, the upfront costs are probably going to be between $4 and $5 million. That's the permitting, design, engineering, all those things that we can't use the grant money for. But it gotta be done before you can get the grant, she mentioned obligated. The easy thing, it seems now, is to be awarded, then getting it obligated and get access is gonna be the challenge. So it was really nice of them to step up and help, because, you know, up front, it's basically all us to get to the next stage. Which is the next slide.
Just what our timeline looks like. We were awarded the grant in October. Our commissioners approved the option just a couple weeks ago at our December commission meeting. We are hoping to have SEPA complete in the second quarter of 2023. We have a team of consultants that is helping with this. It's quite impressive, actually. I think it's going well. Chris Kosky's doing a great job with all that. The one thing I do want to slide in there real quick is we have set a date for a public open house we're going to be having on the project. It'll actually be over the Rotary Log Pavilion on Wednesday, February 15th from 5:30 to 7:30. You'll start seeing information about that out in the community, radio ads, newspaper, anybody that wants to help spread the word, we'd appreciate it. This is our community's chance to come learn about this project, ask questions. Hopefully we'll have more information about when other opportunities to participate will be. A lot of that is depending on when we get SEPA in, when MEPA is complete, those types of things. Those are going to be our public participation points in there. So what we're really targeting is based on AGP's schedule. They hope to be operational in 2025. So we're trying to keep our project online for their project. Gary, do you want to add anything in there?
Yeah, just two things. One, if you're familiar with SEPA is one thing, which I know you're all familiar with, but we also have to go through the NEPA since it's federally funded. So if you're familiar with that at all, you realize this is a really aggressive schedule. And it's being driven by the additional soy meal. The facilities are already under construction. It's not, there's probably 3 new ones under construction, and there's probably 2 or 3 that have been announced but haven't started. So, you know, the wheels turning on the actual supply. That's what's pushing AGP. They want to be able to take advantage of that. And the other thing, I thought you should mention to the council the state of the port breakfast.
Sure. Also on February 15th, because we're like to punish ourselves. The morning of the 15th, 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m., you all will be receiving an invitation to our business report event. We had done it 7 years in a row, and then COVID happened, and we took a little hiatus, so we will be holding it again this year. Also, we're at the Log Pavilion, so it'll be a busy day with the port. If you guys can all make it, you'll be seeing more information on that as well.
So this is actually this is an outreach to let you know about what the project is. It isn't part of the formal SEPA review. We'll be coming back. Once we get the information about the project description and potential impacts and things like that, we'll be reaching back out to you. But we're trying to reach out ahead of time to give familiarity with what the potential project is.
Yeah, I think that's actually it. Unless you guys have questions, we're happy to answer questions.
I have a couple of comments, Gary and excuse me, and Kayla, I'm sorry. If there's anything the city can do to help maneuver things and speed things up, let us know, because we're with you. You guys have been great partners to work with in many different projects, so we're here to help if there's anything we can do.
I'm sure there will be, and I appreciate that. It's a commodity that seems, we did get actually a letter of support from the nation for the grant. And so, they haven't given us support on the project because we haven't been able to tell them what the potential impacts might be. But so that we've got that rolling too. From the city's standpoint, there's going to be, probably $175 million worth of sales tax coming, I would say, in 24 and 25. So
Great.
But we gotta get it approved and everything going, but, yeah, I mean, that's these projects, and then, she mentioned the ongoing benefits, but, the upfront is, I know it's been helpful in the past when we've had big projects.
Another thing, raise some funds for this, for the opening expenses. Put them silos up for bid and let some pop company come in and paint them up like pop cans.
We've run that by AGP in the past, and it hasn't gone over well. They own all those.
Yeah,
Basically, everything you see above ground, they own.
sure.
They've hired us to manage it for them, but they own everything you can see above ground.
I could really see pop company going for that idea. And what's more, I think it would make our community put us on the map for sites to see if they did that.
Maybe some colors, let's go with some lights, some color lights.
Anyway.
Campbell's soup might be an easier sell.
Any other questions?
It seems like there's going to be a really significant impact to Aberdeen with the addition of rail cars. And your time frame for construction and going into operation didn't mention anyway the concurrent time frame for the construction of a flyover. And it seems to me that before more rail cars are running through town, we've got to have that flyover built for safety and for commerce and access. And so I'm just wondering, knowing that you're under the gun somewhat to get this up and running so that the product can move, are you also looking at making sure Aberdeen is taken care of as far as our access?
Well,
and
you control that, and you always have. You guys are driving that project. We're not driving that, and you have been for 10 years. If anything, I would think that the additional traffic would provide just more impetus with efforts to get funding.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier if you have a project that actually they can show the DOT or whoever it happens to be that the impacts are there.
And the port has partnered with us from the very beginning to get that project up and running. I can't remember the numbers, but you kicked in some dollars to help get the project on the board. And so it's going to happen. It's
It'll
just
be a community effort, there's no doubt,
Absolutely.
and we realize how important it is, but, unfortunately, it's just hard to, is it chicken and egg, it'll have impact. But maybe that provides us with enough impetus to get the attention of the DOT.
well, like Gary said, one of the big things that I found in pushing the rail separation project forward, it's just like you said, Gary, really being able to show a need and what it's going to benefit. And this, the project you're talking about tonight is one of those that's going to help us drive that rail separation project
Mayor,
forward.
you guys, you, us, and the county, put up matching funds, I don't know what the number is, $2.5 or $3 million to do and again, this is just like our upfront, this is the stuff you have to do before you can get the funds. So it's, and that's in process, and I'm sure Ruth will probably tell you more about it, but I know, and when if you forgive me for hiring Chris away, but I told him.
You're not forgiven.
When I hired him, this is great, but you still gotta make sure that the East Aberdeen project gets done. So I know he comes over and meets with your team regularly to make sure that the wheels are turning. But, the timing of making all that happen, you gotta get the plan, engineering design, the plan stuff done before you can get somebody to fund it.
Yeah,
So,
well, thank you for keeping that on your radar. And then I wanted to ask if you could give us a little bit more information about the, how the tax increment financing would affect
we
Aberdeen taxpayers.
we will, but not ready to do that tonight. I mean, it's a new tool that's just being used. So I'd rather come back with a better, and also our finance director here to explain that to you. We will be back with that.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if he's welcome back.
I had a couple of questions. So I apologize if these are questions based a little too much in ignorance, but I'm just curious. So all of the soy meal is coming from the Midwest and Midwest farmers? And they've chosen, or through AGP's chosen a Port of Grays Harbor. Are they working with other ports? Do they have soy meal going out of other ports like Portland or LA or any of that? Why Grays Harbor? I'm curious.
Because they were here, they started here in 2002. And they started here because they couldn't find anybody that would help them in Longview or anyplace else. And we've grown it from 200,000 metric tons to 3 million. So we've proven to them, it's a great partnership with the labor force. And they, I thought they didn't shop us, they didn't go to Kalama or Longview. And a lot of the ADM and a lot of the competition actually ships a lot of product through AGP through this facility. So I think the answer is that they've just been extremely happy with the community, the labor force, and our ability to get the job done for them.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
One more that I forgot. Cascade Natural Gas has been working on a project to put in 2-foot diameter pipe. And there's a run that goes right to the port. Is that part of the soybean processing expansion?
No.
Or any other business that's at the port?
The only thing I could think of, and I don't know, I could think of is one of the reasons we haven't been able to expand our alternative fuel production, REG in particular, is didn't have enough natural gas available. And I'm guessing, but I think that's probably why they're looking at putting in more volume so that if somebody wanted to make hydrogen, or the other thing is biojet, I guess. Several different things that we've looked at, but we haven't. The only thing we didn't have was the gas.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Well, we're happy to answer questions. I can get you guys my contact information. There will be a website, or a webpage, I should say, specifically for this project. So if you come up with more questions later, and again, we'll be back about it. Your question? Yeah, we're here, so you might as well take advantage.
Do we have a member of the community, of the council on the committee right now?
Committee?
Well, I get an email every Tuesday before for a port committee that was for the previous seat holder for this spot, and where is it? Is that the historical seaport? Okay.
Yes,
My
different,
mistake.
yes.
Different port.
I was like, what are we doing every Tuesday?
She's really good, so
We know
she
that.
sends out a lot of emails.
Spot me, not be able to, we assume there was, some communication going back and forth. I'm not doing it, so.
I'm not, I think that hits right on the head there is why we need to come back and do our port outreach and tell you guys everything we do and what we have going on outside of this project, because I bet some of you sitting here don't know. And it's your port, or your public port, you need to know. So
There's green hydrogen project up at SATSA, and the marina modernization. We didn't want to do that today because we want to focus on this, but we'd love to come back and give you a bigger picture of what's going on.
We're happy to have you back anytime. Okay. Yeah, just let us know, we'll get you on the schedule.
So the open house, AGP open house, February 15th at,
5:30 PM.
okay,
And I believe Chris said that, that they'll have just the flyover, the Great Separation Project will have a presence or a booth there as well.
oh, great. All right.
Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Thanks,
Thank
Sandra.
Very
you.
much.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Right here, next item on committee of the whole agenda is updates from city administrator and department heads. So I'll hand it over to Ruth.
Hi, good evening, City Council, Mayor and City Council. I have an agenda item, a special agenda item later on in the, on the agenda for a strategic planning session. I have narrowed it down to 2 dates. I also have a question for all of you that could be answered maybe during the committee or the council report portion of the evening. There was a request at the last meeting to provide a homeless report on the costs that were spent towards the homeless efforts. And so we definitely want to start collecting that information. We'll bring information to you on January for December. But we also wanted to know the frequency in which you wanted that information, if that was on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, or an annual basis. Totally your call. So I'm happy to bring this back at the next meeting for discussion, or this could be something, it could be as easy as all of you making a decision later on in the meeting. So just wanted to put that out. And if there are any questions about my report, I'm happy to answer them right now.
Are there any questions for Ruth?
All right, thank you.
Other updates from department heads tonight? They're all looking down and they're not walking up.
Stacy may be reporting.
Is she? Director Barnum, did you have a report tonight?
I had not prepared a formal report, but I do have a few items on the agenda tonight. I have the resolutions to get authorization to apply for the Recreation and Conservation Office Recreational Trails Program grant so that we can do the necessary repairs to the Stewart's Park Trail. And then we also have on the agenda the recommendations from the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee for the grant applicants for funding. I have budgeted about $77,000 to be expended next year, but we are on track to generate a little over $100,000 in lodging tax income. Over the past years, the council has authorized grant application amounts that would total the amount that was collected during the year or less. And so the $91,000 recommendation from the committee is less than what we're projected to bring in this year. I believe that would leave a fund balance of just under $300,000 still in that account if the council approves the full amount. And that was all that I had. Thank you.
Thanks, Director Barnum. And seeing no further updates, Mayor Schaaf, do you have any updates tonight?
I had so many phone calls about cold weather shelter and what are we doing about it, that I'll give a brief update on where we're at. I contacted an owner of a piece of property, and I probably don't want to mention any. And then I contacted Chaplains on the Harbor, who had submitted a bid for the Broadway property to meet together. We got, between Kevin Pine and myself, we got a little pushy on getting them. In fact, we made a road trip to get one of the people on board, with the conversation, and got them both to meet, and we looked at the property and got everybody excited. and it looked really good. And so the final part that was needed was for the chaplains on the harbor to get together with the property owner and actually work out a contract. And when they do, they'll, Commissioner Pine will call for a special commission meeting to get that up and running. And in a nutshell, that's where we're at now. So it's, nothing happens quick enough. Everybody knows that, but the process is rolling, and it's in Chaplain's hands now to get it contracted. So we're moving forward with that. The whole year has been this way, where we've been responsive, picking up pieces and making them work, and keeping the doors open, and wearing our masks and not having to wear our masks, and all these. So it's been a real challenging year. I think we thought we were going to be out of that mode when we were sitting here last year, but 2023 proved to be almost as challenging as 2022 was, and so here we are. I got 1 year ahead of myself here. But anyway, going into 2023. So that's pretty much it. I want to thank all the staff and crew that pushed and pushed and pushed to get our budget done, and the city council for working so hard to get to this point with our budget. And everybody's pitched in, and all these things that come up stand in our way to make progress. We've kicked them aside and done pretty well together as a team. So appreciate that. Appreciate the public's input. And I know sometimes it seems like that you get ignored as the public, but we hear you. And sometimes I don't answer enough emails when and then pretty soon I'll get an email saying, well, nobody's answered me. So, and then I'll finally get up to answering the email. But it's tough, but I appreciate everybody that's worked hard to make 2022 a successful year. And we have a new city administrator, and that's working out real well. And I want to thank everybody, and Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor Shea. Thanks for the updates. How about City Council, any non-standing committee reports this evening? All right, I'm gonna adjourn the committee of the whole.
Okay. This is Mayor Shave, and it's Wednesday, December 28th, 2022 at 7:55, I'm gonna say. And I call the Aberdeen City Council meeting to order. First item on the agenda is roll call. Deputy City Clerk, will you please take a roll call?
Ellis,
Yes.
Francie.
Here.
Gagan.
Here.
Catchman.
Here.
Lawrence.
Here.
Mackey. Morrison.
Here.
Pericini.
Here.
Ross.
Here.
Shaw. Here. Sedor.
Here.
Taylor.
Here.
Shave.
Here,
Thank you.
thank you.
I move that we excuse Councilmember Mackey, who's ill tonight.
I'll second.
Okay, council, motion was made and seconded to excuse Councilmember Mackey. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. The next item on the agenda is the flag salute. Will Violet Morrison lead us in the flag salute, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I move that we approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Motion was made, seconded to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Are there any additions or deletions to the meeting? Seeing none?
Mayor Shape, did the executive session get removed from the final agenda?
It did, the attorney
Okay, so
couldn't
we're
make it.
good. Yep. Okay, I didn't know if we had to remove it.
Okay, we'll move on to public comments on agenda items. Anyone in the audience want to comment on agenda items?
Agenda you just put forward with the homeless house and stuff like that, who may be funding that. And then, so, when it's not on our agenda.
It's not on the agenda, but-
That's not agenda item. Okay. Well, there'll be an opportunity though. Finance Committee Chair report from Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you, Mayor. So the Finance Committee met for the last time in 2022 this evening. And we had a good discussion about the items that are before us tonight. I'd like to start with an approval of expenditures. I move we approve the expenditures as listed.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the payroll and expenditures. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
A motion to approve accounts payable in the total amount of $3,747,086.27. Payroll in the total amount of $94,484.63. Check numbers 25702, 79913 through 80067, and wires 1438. Ellis?
Yes.
Francie?
Yes.
Gagan? Yes. Catchman?
Yes.
Lawrence?
Yes.
Morrison?
Yes.
Gertini?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Sedor?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Motion passes, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
And we have a report from the Parks Director and the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee recommending that the City Council approve the committee's recommendations for the awarding of the 2023 LTAC grant. I move we adopt this report. I second it.
Thank you. Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report on the LTAX. Any discussion? Under discussion?
I have to recuse myself because of a conflict of interest.
Okay, thank you. Under discussion?
Yes, so the LTAC committee met Tuesday, November 29th. And I want to thank the committee members who were present to review all of the proposals. In addition to myself, Danny Bacon, Bobby McCracken, Jackie Elsos, Lisa Blanchard, and Stacy Barnum. There were a number of applicants and a lot of really good projects. Given the amount we had to spend, we did a little bit of juggling so that all of the applicants received some funding, and that was very equitably distributed. The projects help Aberdeen show off our city and generate revenue from visitors coming in. I just wanted to quickly just say the use of the LTAC funds, the lodging funds, can be spent on tourism marketing and operations of special events and festivals designed to attract tourists, operations and capital expenditures of tourism-related facilities, operations of tourism-related facilities owned by either the city or nonprofit organizations. And And the cities and counties may also use lodging tax revenues to pay general obligation bonds or revenue bonds. So we're not asking to do the latter, but to support a number of really good projects this year for next year.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
First, every year, it's kind of impressive the amount of work that's taking place out in the community on our behalf to do good things. But one of the projects on the list was a project that in August, we authorized the mayor to enter into an agreement because it was fully funded and ready to go and it needed to be done right now. And I was just wanting to make sure that the project for the mural on the city building, that this is not in addition to, but supersedes the previous approval that we gave you. Or if we're not doubling up on this, are we? We're not. Do you see what I'm trying to ask?
I do.
There are no funds.
What's the answer?
Stacy, would you be able to respond to that?
So Councilperson Shaw, I think what you're asking, I want to make sure I understand, is the group came to us actually this year with a project that they said they had all the funds for
Yes.
to do the project. And now we have received an application for funding to pay for the project that we were told the group already had funds for. Correct? Is that what you're?
Yes, and I trust the work of the committee that, but I just want to make sure that this is all the funding, that the previous agreement is off the table now, and this is the new agreement, that we're not doubling up.
I can't say that we're not doubling up.
They didn't get any funds, they pulled that project. So they didn't get any funds from that initial response.
So I took a look at the memorandum of understanding because I did notice the exact same thing that you have brought up to try to understand if the memorandum of understanding implied that all the funds were already raised and available to pay for the project. And I think that was what was presented to the council. And then my concern was also, we now are receiving a grant application for money for a project that the council was told the funds had already been raised for. Now, whether or not that's in any type of legal violation of our memorandum of understanding, I would defer to legal counsel for that. But I had the same concerns.
What happens if another organization requested money and didn't use it in the year they said they were going to use it? Could they come back the next year and ask for that money that wasn't dispersed in 2022?
They would have to submit an application for the following year. The money has to be expended by December 31st of the year that they were awarded the grant.
So I don't think this would be any different then, would it? They didn't expend the money in 2022, so now they've asked it for 2023. But that's
Well,
yeah.
I'll let maybe Councilperson Shaw could talk about more of what your concerns are. I think my interpretation is that the council was told the money had already been raised. Oh, are you saying that maybe they were including the money from the 2022 grant? Yeah, and they did expend all their money. They did expend the full grant that they received in 22.
I'm looking at their proposal and it shows city lodging tax grant of $15,000 requested to be matched by a Grays Harbor County Tourism Grant of $15,000. And I don't know if they got that funding or not.
Does that answer your question, Councilperson Shaw? I hope.
Well, one of the dilemmas, of course, as you know, is that when it comes to the LTAC, it's all or nothing. We don't get to cherry pick as a council. We either approve this as a package tonight or not. So I'm not interested in voting it down. I just was looking for clarity that it's clear that if we fund this, it's, that this is it, but also that they have the other funding, that we're not being asked to now pay for something that they said was paid for, because I'd be willing to suspend this for another meeting to sort that out, because is it a $15,000 project that's now 30, and why is that? So
So I have a question. So can we not say that we vote to approve all except one line item on the grant budget and then come back later and address that particular one? Are you saying we have to vote on the entire package as one today?
in the past, we've been told we have to vote on the
The thing
package
is-
as presented.
They've allotted a specific amount of money that they've divided up amongst all of these different people. So if you put that on the burner and then eventually we say no, then there's that extra money that didn't get allotted.
But does all the money have to be allotted tonight or before year end, or can it be picked up again in the coming month?
So this is what state law says. This is the informal opinion from the Attorney General's office. A legislative body may award amounts different from the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee's recommended amounts, but only after satisfying the procedural requirements of RCW 67.28.1817. This requires the municipality to submit its proposed change to the Lodging Tax Committee for review and comment at least 45 days before final action is taken. So that is what Councilperson Shaw is referring to. So no, you can't make changes tonight and then approve and then award these grants. You can submit your requested changes to the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee for comment, and then it would come back to you as a council then at that time you can implement your changes if you want, but you have to allow the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee time to comment and review your changes.
So I was asked what they were asking funding for, and the description of their new projects include replacement mural for the History of Transportation mural, and restoration and installation of the Nirvana mural, clear coating of the Swanson Centennial mural, and continuing projects, the Healing Gallery at Harbor Regional Health Community Hospital, the Historic Homes Tour, restoration of future city-owned critter sculptures, solar lighting to the downtown murals, and further development of the Lights Up Aberdeen Fest.
So what they're asking for is 12,500, or what they were, the committee recommended is $12,500, and it's for a multitude of new projects, not just.
8750s for the Aberdeen Museum mural.
And we never awarded any funding towards that previously. And because the issue came up to the council at that time because of time constraints. They were hoping to get things rolling before the season of them being able to get out there and do it. And that's why it came up to the council when it did, and that we would back them to allow them to do that. And as far as funding is concerned, I not recall where they asked us for funding.
No, they told us they had the funding already.
Yeah,
So it was fully funded.
yeah.
That's what they told us.
So they were just asking us at that previous time.
But now
for-
they're asking for that funding again, that they said they already had funded. So-
Well, it doesn't, Liz just read the list off. It's a number of things
Yeah,
that
but
they're
part of it
going to
is redoing
use
that
this
mural.
fund this money for on this request, so.
And again, I just want to clarify that I'm not trying to oppose the request, I just wanted to make sure that there's clarity, that, and I appreciate the clarification that there's multiple projects, because all of those projects they're really nice projects, but again, well, you know, it's a process, I just can't help myself sometimes. We suspended our process and gave permission for something that we were told on the fly was fully funded and let them go off and running, and now here we are, $8,000 later, having to help them finish it. So I'm not gonna oppose it, I just wanted to make sure that the council saw that that was on there, and it's different than what we were told.
Looking at their application, though, this is money to pay the artist to repaint it, and that wasn't what their original plan was. That's what it is.
Before it was printed, right?
Yeah, they were gonna try
So
to
this
print it,
now is painted.
and now they're needing to hire her to repaint it. So
Yeah,
this is different.
they ran into some issues because of,
The pictures, yeah. They
yeah,
wouldn't,
the size
pixels or something.
that they were originally gonna do would have worked. But in order to compromise with the museum board and make something that worked for everybody, they found they weren't able to do it without just repainting the thing. So the process, it didn't end up making it into the timeline, of course, that they initially applied for, but that's all this is. I don't think there's anything doubled here. It's just a change, the project has changed.
Yeah, project changed.
And we're talking about, what was it, $12,500 total for all of the stuff that they proposed there. So what, you said it was 8,000 of that
Yeah.
to pay for the artist?
Mhm.
Big job.
Mhm.
This will be your third time painting that if we approve this.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah.
You're right, good job.
Okay, any more discussion on that?
We're ready.
Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
One no, two no, thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. Our next item is a resolution for project number 22-1914 MNT, authorizing the Parks Director to apply for funding assistance for a recreational trails program project to the Recreation and Conservation Office. I move we adopt this resolution.
I second it.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this resolution. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
This will be resolution 2022-20.
Then we have a resolution for project number 22-2555. DEV authorizing the Parks Director to apply for funding assistance for recreational trails program project to the Recreation and Conservation Office. I move we adopt this resolution.
I second it.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this resolution. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
This will be resolution 2022-21.
And finally, we have a resolution authorizing an increase in development fees for the city of Aberdeen. I move we adopt this report.
I second it.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No. Deputy Clerk, will you do a roll call vote, please?
Roll call vote authorizing an increase in development fees for the city of Aberdeen. Ellis,
Yes.
Francie,
Yes.
Gakin,
Yes.
Catchman,
Yes.
Lawrence,
No.
Morrison,
No.
Bertini,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Sedor,
Yes.
Taylor.
No.
Motion passes 8-3, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Motion has passed.
This will be resolution 2022-22.
And that is it from the finance.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. As I said earlier, it's been a busy year being, keeping up with everything. That's the 22nd resolution that we've passed this year. So that's actually, that's a lot for us. Moving on, Councilmember Shaw for Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor. We all know they're pretty busy in Public Works, so we'll just go straight to reports and communications. We have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council adopt the 2023 standard specifications for road, bridge, and municipal construction published by the Washington State Department of Transportation as the current construction standard for the city of Aberdeen. I move we adopt this report.
Second?
Motion was made, seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion?
Question.
Under discussion.
Councilmember Shaw, I'm assuming that we don't really have any options on this, is kind of.
No, that was, I think, the first sentence in the committee report was that we are required to maintain this standard.
Thank you.
Usually every December, we go through some of these that are mandatory options. Okay, moving
Thank
on.
you. Under item number 2.
We need to go.
Oh, I'm sorry, my fault. Any further discussion? Sorry, Deanne. Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The report is adopted.
So Public Works, item number 2, we have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign the Transportation Improvement Board fuel tax agreement for the Street 2022-0001 project, also known as the Sumner Avenue US 101 Sidewalk Improvement Project, accepting a grant in the amount of $450,000 and authorizing the Finance and Public Works Directors to sign all applicable project documents to be incorporated into the fuel tax agreement. I move we adopt this report.
Second?
Thank you. Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
So we have Public Works, item number 3. Clearly, I had too much time on my hands today because I also reworked this one a little bit. Becca, I'll give it to you when I'm done. Report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign the Transportation Improvement Board fuel tax agreement for a grant in the amount of $475,000 for the Street 2023-0001 project, also known as the Arterial Connection Project on Park, Alder, and Broadway Streets, and authorizing the Finance and Public Works Directors to sign all applicable documents to be incorporated into the fuel tax agreement. I move we adopt this report.
Second?
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Brings us to Public Works, item number 4, a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council authorize the Public Works Director to sign the interagency agreement between the Washington State Recreation and Conservation Office and the City of Aberdeen, accepting the grant funding from the Office of the Chehalis Basin for stormwater pump projects in the amount of $654,000 for the Farragut Street Pump Station and $500,000 for the Division Street Pump Station. I move we adopt this report.
Second?
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
That's it from Public Works, and I'd just like to add again, I know I pretty much do it every meeting, but a big thank you to our Public Works staff for all the work they do to keep us eligible for grants and leverage all these funds.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to Public Safety Committee Chair Report from Councilmember Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. Public safety met this evening at 6:30 PM. I have two very brief reports from the chiefs, and then we have one agenda item. So from the City of Aberdeen Fire Department, we are renewing our memorandum of understanding with the Cosmopolis Fire and EMS, and that will come up in a little bit. Also, we have some fire department promotions to announce. The following individuals have received promotions effective January 1, 2023. Ryan Nodal will be moving to Assistant Fire Chief. Ryan Klein will move into the captain position, and Derek McDougall will move into the engineer position. Congratulations to all of them. And from the Aberdeen Police Department, the activity report is 34,485 calls of service as of today at noon. This is an increase of 6.4% and a record for calls for service. And the police department has formally hired Explorer Kyle Weidman as an Aberdeen police officer effective March 1, 2023. The Basic Law Enforcement Academy is backlogged through July of 2023, so that delays his start date. He would tentatively be on solo patrol in early spring of 2024. We have also hired Police Services Officer Nick Clark effective March 1, 2023. The State Corrections Officer Academy does not have any available academy dates at this time. We still have 4 police officer vacancies and 1 PSO vacancy and are currently testing online. As the year winds down and we prepare for 2023, we wanted to pass on our sincere gratitude to the citizens of Aberdeen. It is an honor and a privilege to serve this community day in and day out. We cannot be successful without our valued partnerships as we strive to continue to make Aberdeen vibrant and safe for those who live and visit our community. Please have a safe New Year's and ring it in responsibly. And I'd also like to thank both the police department and the fire department for the wonderful jobs that they do for our city. Moving on to reports and communications, we have a report from Public Safety and the Fire Chief recommending that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign the memorandum of understanding with the City of Cosmopolis for emergency fire support, extending it until June 30th, 2023. I move we adopt this report.
Second?
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion?
Just a question.
Okay,
Was there any thought with this in making adjustments based on the new bargaining agreement that was signed?
With the memorandum, you mean?
Yeah. For the cost of services?
The formula used for the rate was based off of the availability rate, which did not change. So it did not change for Cosmopolis. So that's the model that was used in that agreement. So basically, no, because we used reserves to keep our rate down.
any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The report is adopted.
Thank you. That's all from Public Safety.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to special agenda items.
Yes, we have many special agenda items. First one is a report from the city administrator recommending that the city council approve the 2 dates selected by the majority of council for the strategic planning sessions. I move that we accept this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to accept this report. Is there any discussion? Under discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank our city administrator for pulling this together. And all the time I've been on city council, there's never been a chance for us to get together as a group and talk about our priorities. And I think this is going to be really valuable for us moving forward.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Couple of quick questions.
Go ahead.
So is this going to be treated like an executive session of some kind, or is this going to be open to the public?
This will be open to the
Oh, to the
public,
public.
but we have to do the regular.
But we won't, we won't be seeking public comment at that time
Correct.
during that, okay? Will lunch be served?
Yeah,
Thank
that is the
It's,
intention, yeah.
Thank you.
I think the last time we did this was, golly, five years ago or something. We met over at the Log Pavilion and had food catered from the taco place over on Boone Street. If anybody remembers that?
They've been on fitness for 15 years.
All right. Any other discussion?
I had a question too.
Okay.
I know for me, I have a conflict with one of these dates, so I'm not able to attend. Will these be recorded or anything for anyone that's not able to attend one of the meetings or potentially both?
We can make that happen.
Okay,
Okay,
sounds good.
anything else from anyone? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And next is a report from Personnel and the Human Resources Director recommending the promotion of Kevin Eldred from Engineering Technician 4 to Civil Engineer 1. I move we accept this report.
Second?
Motion was made and seconded to accept this report. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 3 is a report from Personnel and the Human Resources Director recommending that the City Council approve the request for the change in FLSA status for the Fire Administrative Coordinator, Police Administrative Coordinator, Legal Administrative Assistant, Public Records Specialist, and Human Resources Technician from exempt to non-exempt. I move we accept this report.
Seconded.
Motion was made and seconded to accept this report. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 4 is a report from Personnel and the Human Resources Director recommending that the Fire Chief and Assistant Fire Chief pay the same employee premium portion of benefits as required by all department heads and exempt employees effective January 1st, 2023. I move we accept this report.
Seconded.
Motion was made and seconded to accept this report. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, or say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 5 is a report from Personnel and the Human Resources Director recommending that the City Council approve the request to increase the police commander's salary. I move that we accept this report.
Seconded.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Any discussion?
Question. So isn't this part of the overall union negotiations or anything? Or not?
I'll speak to that. This is Danny. We actually did talk about this when we were negotiating the APAU contract. Our labor attorney thought that the commander was part of that agreement, but they weren't. But council did agree to the 2% increase, so that's why I brought it forth to personnel for approval.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And item number 6 is a report from Personnel and the Human Resources Director recommending that the City Council approve the request for advancement in paid leave schedule and longevity pay premium based on 11 years and 1 month of previous city employment for IT Help Desk Technician Casey Stratton. I move we accept this report.
Alice, second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, for reports, is a report from Personnel and Human Resources Director recommending that the City Council approve the request to change the reporting structure of the Public Works Administrative Coordinator positions. I move we accept this report.
Second?
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Council
We have some
President.
appointments to make tonight.
Well, under appointments, we have Civil Service Commission appointment for Adam Johnson. I would accept the,
I move that we approve.
thank you.
Seconded.
Motion was made and seconded to approve Adam Johnson onto the Civil Service Commission. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is Board of Museum and History, new appointment, Nancy Coyle to the City Museum Board. Any,
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Motion was made and seconded to approve Nancy Coyle to the City Museum Board. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I have 3 candidates that are on the board for renewal to the board. David Bilski, Ruth Hamilton, and Don Lenz. I would put them all together in one motion.
I move to approve the renewals of these 3 members.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to renew the board membership of these 3. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll move on to public comments. Anyone in the public, in the audience want to speak on anything, come up to the podium, give your name and ward number if you know where you live.
Hello, I'm Delbert Seidel, Ward number 2. I'd like to ask a question or two about the whole winter shelter that you guys are looking at purchasing. If it's funded by the city of Aberdeen alone, or if it's countywide, or if there's other entities going to help purchase this piece of property and pay insurances and stuff like that for it. And if it's in a residential area, that's going to affect people, those kind of questions.
I would be happy to answer. It's not in a residential area. It's privately owned, and the private owner is volunteering to use this piece of property as a building on it. The funding is coming from the county. The county gets state funding for this type of thing, and they're paying for this. So the city's probably going to do what we can to, help out here and there, but essentially the real expenses are coming from the county. Like maybe we'll take our Santa can out there or something like that. I don't know, but
I'm just curious because, everything seems to end up with a lot of
yeah.
people here, and, they're coming from all over, not just from our area.
The city of Aberdeen doesn't get any funding for any of this kind of stuff, but the county does. So that's why I've been working with Kevin Pine and the other county commissioners to come up with some solutions.
Yeah, just looking for what the impact is gonna be on our taxpayer dollars,
Yeah.
and tax-paying citizens, and whether it's gonna be in residential area that's gonna, affect some people that may not be sitting here today.
Yeah.
Wonder, if their neighborhood's gonna be affected, or, it's obvious, what they do and what they're doing under the bridge, their garbage and.
Well, the site is away from neighborhoods and out of the city core.
Yeah, that's important, but it's also important. I'm a firm believer people should take care of themselves in this world, but and we're not all, responsible for that, taxpayers, to fund other people. And then one other question out of anything we've spoke to about here. There's a section of sidewalk between Cosmopolis and Aberdeen that's a block long, it's not paved, there's no sidewalk at all. It's to join the two cities on the north end between the Jimmy Texan's building and basically the first block and by the Peterson building there. There's absolutely no way you have to actually walk into the street to connect those two. The sidewalk on the other side of the street's pretty disrepaired, and there's usually people parked on it, and I don't know if that's where or who to talk to about that situation there, but I think that needs to be a sidewalk to join those two. I don't know if it's because no one can make a definition on who owns that piece, or if it's both, so the joining of the two towns there, so.
Mayor,
We've made
I see
note.
our Public Works Director is still on the call, and we would just ask him to make sure and include that for the next Public Works Committee discussion, okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Okay, I'll open up council comment. Anyone on the council? Councilmember Ellis?
Thank you, Mayor. Our city administrator brought up needing to have a little bit more guidance on how regularly staff should provide accounting to council for the costs of addressing homelessness in Aberdeen. And I think it will be really important to have those numbers. And I was told that it doesn't make much difference whether it's monthly or quarterly. To me, there's some benefits to having monthly numbers because it sure shows us how the ebb and the flow of these costs vary with seasons and other things that are going on in our community. So I'd like to make a motion that we give the guidance back to city staff to provide us with monthly accounting of those costs.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to have staff present monthly costs associated with homeless issues. Is there any discussion? Under discussion?
I'd just like to comment that I agree with that. I think that seeing it monthly and trying to track some trends, quarterly, we might get a skewed idea of, where we might be going. And monthly will be giving us a better tracking. And it will also, like Councilmember Ellis said, see if there's seasonal issues and fluctuations and that need to be considered. So I would vote for monthly too.
Councilmember Ross?
I like the idea of monthly reports, but is this going to be a burden to staff?
I spoke with the directors today at our weekly meeting, and it didn't sound like it was going to be an administrative burden.
Thank you.
Councilmember Shaw, did you have?
That was my question as well, because one alternative would have been to have maybe bi-monthly, except for those times when it's on the agenda, have a more complete accounting. But if it's not a burden, I'm for monthly.
Okay, anyone else?
David, did you have?
I forgot if it was covered.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Anything else, council comments? Go ahead.
I'm the newbie on board here. I've only been here a few months, but I want to tell the council and the mayor and Ruth, the administrator, what a pleasure and an honor it's been to be able to serve just these last few months. And I look forward to the coming year and wish everybody a happy new year.
Thank you. Anyone else? Happy New Year, everyone.
I have something.
Oh.
this evening, everyone should have received a piece of paper outlining committee assignments for next year, so if everyone could just fill it out. I don't need this piece of paper back if you want to shoot me an email, just so we have an idea of what committees you'd like to be on next year, and if you're willing to serve as chair or vice chair. I don't need it back tonight. If you want to think about it, if you could just give it to me before the start of our next meeting on the 11th. Okay. Or I will take it right now too. It's fine.
Okay,
I move we adjourn.
I second.
motion was made and seconded to adjourn. If there's no objection, we are adjourned.
I'll remind you,